like an example for the cable full. We highly recommend to not touch anymore the hoist after a cable full malfunction. And so you need very good standard to deal with this malfunction.
This is another thing. I don't know if this video may start. I try to press the button again or just leave it as it is. Okay, here we go. This is a video which was created in Australia because the D-lock hook, which supposedly be very safe and was never an issue to become a matter of concern, with a combination of equipment, as you can see here, there is also a slight possibility that we have this so-called dynamic rollover. The D-lock hook, and if you have some time, come to see us at the show and just keep it in your hands, is a dual locking device which normally prevents this type of rollover. But with the right combination, or wrong combination in this case, of hardware, it is possible. And the EASA did react on that, issuing a safety information bulletin about 1.5 years ago or 2 years ago, correct me if I'm wrong, to check the equipment, what you use in your operation to exactly prevent this from happening. And even, as you can see here on the right-hand side, always apply the right maintenance procedures for your hoist system, which is mandated by the OEM of your aircraft. Dynamic rollout. As you can see here, there are two other or older style of hooks where it is definitely easier to have this dynamic rollout. You can provoke it. We've done it a couple of times now during the show, and it's really something what you can prevent, even if you have an old equipment, just by applying the right checklist procedures. We've composed also some maintenance toolkits to make life easier for the maintenance crew on the ground. It's not much what the hoist really require in terms of maintenance, but that little what is required, you definitely need to give it to the hoist. Otherwise, you will end up in a kind of problem scenario, which then may lead, in terms of air chain, to a problem and to incident or maybe accident.
Yes, good cleaning and lubrication, especially if you fly in very hard condition like salt, close to salt water or sand condition too.
Yeah, we've also put some of that stuff in writing, which had become publicly available. It was intentionally the white paper, which we had created in 2018, and we believed it is worth to distribute it to become a public domain, and it's the so-called safety promotion notice, and it is publicly available on the internet. If you just check the Airbus Helicopters website, you can download it, and there is a lot of information, not just that what we've just presented, even more on top of that is available, because we thought it's worth distributing. The next thing, what we had done is the hoist operator training guide, and maybe you lose a word on that.
It has been a big achievement for us because it has been published by Together for Safety the same day, the same time, also by Leonardo and Airbus. So it was a nice adventure for us. So as you said before, Alex, we start by understanding that what was written in Analysis 5 was okay, but it was not enough. So we decided to go on this way, putting a lot of operators together, Airbus, Leonardo too, in order to enhance, not to reinvent what we were already doing, but just to enhance and clarify some point of hoist operation.
Yeah, and here you see we had a couple of face-to-face workshops just before COVID, and the last one was during the DRF Symposium. As you can see, we have a nice flowchart and not reinventing the wheel, just giving guidance and help to the operators if they want to start to have an hoist operator ab initio, and giving credits for already existing hoist operators.
Yes, and to be honest, there is no license for hoist operator, and for some reason it's quite a problem. So it was difficult to find prerequisite, to find standard training. The trainer courses also for hoist operator was not written anywhere except for the operator. The training of the hoist operator belong on the operator. So we decided to provide to the industry a guidance when. For some of them, it was very useful because they had absolutely nothing. For the very experienced operator, it was nice because they could use it to enhance what they already have. And at the end, we had quite a positive outcome.
Yeah, the feedback is really nice because, as Julien mentioned, it was published the same day, and I would like to thank you, Bernd, and Michel, and John Franklin, that you've pushed it so hard that we get it out on the same day. That was really a great achievement, and I want to thank you again on that. And it was also referenced at Heli Offshore in their document in the Annex 1 that it is a kind of industry, or had become a kind of industry standard for offshore wind farm and transfer of the mechanics to the wind turbines. Yeah, and this is our current project, which we started in September 21, so quite recent ago, before the Hoist Symposium of DRF. And we did continue a couple of weeks ago with our follow-up workshop. And we will have, and already had, some harmonization meetings, and I invite especially pilots, hoist pilots, experienced hoist pilots, to contribute to our guide, because it hopefully will become a reference document for the future. Not that we want to put an additional burden to the organizations already, but giving them guidance on the existing requirements of the 965. Yeah, and also everybody's talking about simulation. We have identified this scope as well, that we can probably save some resources while doing hoist training.
Yeah, there is a lot of things ongoing on this topic, a lot of new training provider with very nice simulator, a lot of simulation company which are trying and starting to develop a very nice devices for hoist operation training, not only for the hoist operator, but also for the pilot and the rescuer. The problem is there is no certification related to this type of device, so we propose as a working group to have a structured approach because if not, everybody in his garden could develop his own simulator, and you will have no hand on the quality of the training, the fidelity of the device. So also here we start with like a white paper on hoist operation simulation, describing what could be the perfect tool for this kind of operation.
And especially giving credits for
exactly.
it. Mm-mm. Because nobody's doing that just for fun. There need to be some giveaway on that. And as you might know, there is already some stuff existing. Bad Tölz, the German mountain rescue, they established a simulator, which is an old airframe equipped with a crane-type hoist, where they did train, or where they do train, basically their medical stuff, have a standard procedure for these 3,000 volunteers working in the German Alps to rescue people, because you cannot train them all on a helicopter. It's just impossible. The number is way too high. So they decided together with a supplier to develop this. And as you can see, there are some other applications starting to exist. One is, I think, in Istres, in the flight test center.
VSM in south of France, which is a mix between virtual reality and training tower. We have Priority 1 Air Rescue in France also, near Bordeaux, which is using a virtual reality simulator in addition to a training tower. So a training tower may be more efficient for muscle memory and for rescuer, when virtual reality is very good for scenario training, working on different type of activity you can do with the hoist, offshore, overland, mountain rescue, etc. And using virtual reality, you have also the opportunity to connect it to a full flight simulator, and it's become a full crew training concept, which could be very efficient because obviously you can train on the specific emergency situations that you cannot train in the reality, like the fact to cut the cable if necessary in case of engine failure or tail rotor failure, and so on.
Yeah, especially the cost factor comes into play in cable cutting. We're talking about $15,000 for a single cable cut. If you could do that by virtual reality, you save a lot of money on that. Yeah, and this is the
what do we expect from this document? It must be adapted to the crew, obviously. If you train a pilot, you cannot train him on a procedural tower, or like they have in battles, the cabin hanging on the crane. For a pilot, it will be not really relevant.
Maybe even negative training.
Exactly. And for a rescuer, virtual reality may be not efficient. Okay, so we will need a training tower. So operators need to assess exactly what they need and what they want to do.
Yeah. Also, we could reduce the risks, and we can reproduce standard procedures. We can, of course, reduce the flights and the environmental impact. We can practice the emergencies, and we can do multiple repetitions of certain scenarios. And yeah, we have also the positive training transfer.
And as you said, this must be green. Today, we cannot imagine create a simulation device which is not compliant with environmental factors.
Yeah, we're
Sorry.
No,
this
never
is
mind.
a new slide that we had. Okay, we also promote and highly recommend the operator to perform CRM. For pilots, it's obvious, obviously, but to apply it to the whole crew: hoist operator, rescuer, doctor, nurse, paramedic, technician, administration, management, and also all the ground staff. Okay, it's very important. It's very particular operation where everybody must be involved. They must behave as a team, and it belongs on the operator to create this dynamics, this group dynamics.
Yeah, I just wanted to catch one point. There was a recent discussion before we started the ESPN-R presentation regarding hoist design. Due to the fact that there was an issue a couple of years ago with the overload clutch, and the EASA considered the hoist not to be a safe design, and is requiring now a completely redesigned system or next generation hoist system. We believe that the hoist is still airworthy system, safe system, where we ourselves would put ourselves on the hook, but we still believe that it can, or the operation can be improved significantly by putting standards, putting training in a kind of mandatory manner into the regulation, and maybe also reconsider the hoist operator license. I know, Michel, I don't want to open this can of worms, but at least I want to mention it, that if there is a regulation in place, that there is a standard for the hoist operator, we can for sure reduce significantly the risk rather than to reinvent the wheel or invent a new hoist where we believe it's safer, but we're still lacking the human-machine interface to have this improved better than just making a new hoist and believe that with that it's going to be safer.
I agree, Alex.
Okay, and to get closer to the closure, the rescue hoist, and I pinpoint the word rescue hoist, was intended to rescue people, but it had become or developed to a new field of operation, like the personal transport or the passenger transport, and therefore we need to involve all the people to make them aware that it is a risky operation, and everybody has to have full awareness of what's going on, and that we have the best crew coordination concept to have a safe operation. Therefore, always think safety, and I'm quite sure with this improvement or with this project, we can continue to have a better and safer hoist operation. And we need your feedback on this. Please contribute. If you have something to say, put it on our LinkedIn forum, email Julien or myself, and we will discuss with you, and we will be happy to host you on one of our workshops. And let's work together. Safety is no competition. This is the reason why Leonardo and Airbus are shoulder to shoulder working together on this, and hopefully we'll have even overseas OEMs working together with us to continue to improve safety on the hoist operational team for the future. And by the way, just a closing remark, we have now more than 800 members on the LinkedIn channel for the hoist operational safety, and I would like to thank you all, especially you, for your outstanding work, Julien. And yeah, it's really not only I would say a passion, also it had become a hobby, because I really think we can do something good on that.
Thank you, Alex.
As you can see, we are always a bunch of people, so cooperation is key. And as we just heard before, there are various topics. If you know someone who is interested or could be interested in topics to cooperate, please let him know, and we will onboard him really appreciatively. And this is, for me, the goodbye, and I'll hand over for the last word to Michel.
That was the ESPN-R workshop of the year. We put a lot of heart and soul and technique and motivation in there. We hope that you got useful information. All the material that was mentioned, the videos, the guides, and you name it, are, of course, freely available. They are published on the EASA Rotorcraft community website, and the links are also republished on the vast vertical aviation safety team, as I mentioned before. They wish to be the central location for finding rotorcraft relevant info, or just use any internet search engine, and you'll get there. Feel free to use this material and pass the words and use it for as a basis for your procedures, for your training, for your safety promotion campaigns, and etc. It was designed. You don't have even to ask us if you may use it or not. It was developed to be freely used by the industry. The only small request is not to remove our logo, but please add yours on the documents. That was it, I think. So thank you very much to my colleagues from ESPN-R. It's not the first edition. We've been doing that over some years now. And as far as I remember, this probably is the most technically competent one. So we've improved from intention to method to practical deliveries. deliverables. Thank you very much for your participation, and see you next year. Bye-bye. Thank you. Team.
No, go ahead.
We thought it was perfect, but you have a mic. You don't need a mic? Okay.
What is the primary cause of hoisting accidents? Is it poor technique or SOPs, the design of the winch, or problems with the operator not looking after the winch properly?
I have to be very diplomatic on that. I don't have the numbers. They are within EASA, and there were a workshop in 2017, as far as I remember, to divide those or to put those into certain buckets. But it was never really analyzed and disclosed to a full extent. But it may be a good idea to elaborate on that again. Because as I said in my presentation, I believe we have a safe design with this, which is airworthy, and most of the known incidents and accidents, they are related to human-machine interface problems like PCDS, or somebody did do a wrong flight maneuver, or did do a risky flight maneuver, and very limited number of the hoist incidents and accidents that are really related to the hoist design. But I cannot give you the numbers. They belong to EASA.
But this is why we have asked the operators to show us or to indicate to us what are their main problems, what are the root causes for the problems. And as you have seen on the presentation, I would say all of them were more or less dedicated to operational factors. So it's a small portion or a small fraction of percentage for technical issues.
If yeah, but sometimes it's come to knowledge also, and a lot of I'm going all over the world to perform this kind of activities, and sometimes people are not aware on how to check the cable, how to maintain the cable, and so on. So I think all of us, hoist OEM and OEMs, need to be very, let's say, proactive in this direction in order to teach people to maintain the hoist in a better way. And I would like to say also that most of the incident reports that we can see now on the public domain and so on report always a problem of non-technical skills. We come back to the previous problem with the hoist operator, which have no license, no CRM courses are mandatory. We face so many times crew coordination problem between the pilot and the hoist operator, too much hierarchy in the cockpit, not enough in the cabin, not enough leadership, and so on. So it's not always related to hoist design. I agree with this point.
Safety is not for free. Yes, absolutely. And just to correct, yeah, and Pat, just to correct the number, the 15,000 is for the cable, the pyrotechnic cartridge, and the cutter. And the cable cost itself is around about 3,000, which is not cheap, but compared to a life, no doubt about it. If there is a doubt on the cable, just replace it. Yeah. Any further questions?
I just wanted to add a word. I'm not a hoist expert, by the way. Just thinking in terms of principle, any equipment needs to be properly operated and properly maintained. This is why it is sometimes difficult to identify the single root cause when we have an incident. And historically, if I do remember well, a couple of years ago, we created a rulemaking task in the European Plan for Aviation Safety, looking in particular at design aspects and how this could be improved. And the ARCOM and EASA tasked the ESPN-R through safety promotion to, as a complement to it, also look at procedural and training aspects. And this is the result of that work that we presented today. So it's not going one way or the other. We try to address the several aspects of safety as we know that they all interact in practice.
And of course, for the OEMs or for the industry, that doesn't mean that we should not improve the design, of course. So this is really, I think, and I can speak for Leonardo and Airbus, we are striving for improving. As soon as there is something identified in terms of weaknesses, this will be improved, for sure.
Any other question? Then I thank you very much for your participation on this afternoon and see you next year. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.